Hi, I'm in Fashion Design 229 in the Star Store, which is labeled the dark room here, but it's really our fashion design technology room. So we have the Digitizer here. The Digitizer turns your paper patterns into digital patterns. We have the Plotter here. The Plotter turns your digital patterns into paper patterns. Then we have a couple computers over here. Okay, this computer has to be on and someone has to be logged in for Accumark to work. It has the key to Accumark, which is a program that we need to be running in order for our other two machines to be functioning. So I'm going to walk you through how to use these today. Okay, so there are a couple things we have to do on the Digitizer computer before we can start digitizing. I'm going to launch Accumark Explorer. I can just double click on this symbol and it's right here. I've already launched it just to save time. And we need to make ourselves a folder. So I already have a folder. It's filled with all the stuff that I've digitized. And it also has a grade rule table in it called 0. And this is the one that we need a grade rule table in order for the Digitizer to work properly. So every folder has to have a grade rule table in order to function on this Digitizer, with this Digitizer. So we are going to create a new folder. Right now, if I went to File, New, these new storage area options are grayed out. We have to click on the C drive in order to make a new folder. So we can go to File, New, V9 Storage Area, and I'm going to name it Example, and hit OK. So there are a few things automatically in this folder. These are called parameter tables, and we are going to look at one of these later, but we don't need to do anything for it for the Digitizer. So right now we are going to go to Kelsey, and we are going to choose my 0 grade rule table, and then we are going to right click and choose copy and go back to example and paste. So now we have this rule table in our folder, and we will be able to apply it when necessary on in using the Digitizer in the next steps here. So now that that is done, we are going to launch WDigit, which is the Digitizer's software. So we are going to right click on this little caret. The Digitizer software lives on the dock here. We right click on it and we choose open. All right, and this comes up, it's totally blank. That's perfectly fine. We are going to go to Action, Digitize Processing Options, and set some things up here. I've already been experimenting, so this is already set up correctly. We are going to choose our folder from these options that show up. These are only options, the only options that show up are options that are in Accumark Explorer over here. No other folders will show up on the computer or anything like that. So we can choose example, and then we can change the name prefix if we like, and the starting piece number. As we digitize more pieces, this will change from 1 to 2 to 3, and it will add the number onto the end of the name, just like that. We can use the same category as the piece name. It's okay to leave the model blank, and we are going to choose rule table. We will then choose our own rule table 0 that we just added to our folder. And then the size digitized, this doesn't particularly matter, but if you were applying a proper rule table, this would make a difference. If you are using a specific size, you should probably put that. If you're digitizing a specific size piece of clothing, you should probably put that size there. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK, and we are going to go to we are going to step out of the digital and look at the physical Digitizer now. So I have the pattern piece that I want to digitize. It's not cut around, but that's fine. It's underneath this piece of plastic under here. Be careful with this piece of plastic. It likes to like slide down and slide off the digitizer suddenly. It's only held on by like these little Velcro things. And this is the puck. And the computer is set up with the WDigit program. So we are going to now start digitizing with the puck. So we're going to take the puck. The puck, notice that green light only shows up when it's on the table. So if I take it off, the green light shuts off. This puck is only functional, these buttons are only functional if this is touching the table. So you can pick it up and move it around, but when you're touching the buttons, they have to be on the table. Okay, so we're going to come over here, and even though this is just a piece of paper, it seems like just a piece of paper, these are actually buttons that we click on. So we choose Start Piece, and we hit the A button. And then we draw our grain line on the piece of fabric. So the grain line normally runs along with the center front line. So I am just going to, the crosshairs are where the points pick from. So I'm just going to try to kind of draw a line. I'm drawing it probably like here to here, but I'm trying to make sure it's lined up with the center grain line. If you've drawn a proper pattern piece, it might have a grain line on it. So I'm just hitting A on both of these spots, and I'm trying to make sure that they're like an equal distance away. And on here, this is subtle, but this line appeared on the computer. Okay. Now we've drawn our grain line. We have to remember to hit star. Okay. We cannot forget to hit this, or else it will just keep trying to draw grain lines over and over again, which doesn't function well. So we hit star. Now we're going to click around the outside of the piece with the A button. Okay, so you only have to click like on ends of straight lines, and then anything that we want to curve, like we'll do this line. We just need to give it a few more points there. You don't have to go crazy, but whatever you think would be good enough to define the information. So then we'll come up and continue around the arm. Click, and then down the neck. All right, so now we have reached this point, and we only have one straight line left. Okay, we don't need to click again on this point. Instead, we can click close piece. Okay. And up here, we can see that this indeed has gone all the way around and digitized all of this. So that's what it should look like. That's a positive. And now we want to choose end input on these options. Okay, end input. Okay, and it goes away. That's fine. That's also good. And this pops up so that you can input any changes that you need to make for the next piece that you're going to digitize, because normally clothes have more than one pattern piece. Okay. So now that we've digitized it, we should check on it in our folder in Accumark Explorer. So we can see it here, and we can even see that it has a preview. Both of those are huge positives. The digitizer is kind of finicky, so if you if you mess up even on like one button click while you're using the puck, then it might not be able to read the information that it's collected. So you'll get a incorrect file type, which I think I probably have some in here. Yeah, and they're labeled stored digitized data, and they have a different little thumbnail symbol, and the preview for them would be unavailable. So it's best to just try again when something's going wrong, and if it's still giving you trouble, to reach out and ask for help. All right, back to the example folder. We are actually going to open this in open with Pattern Design, open separate work area. If you just double click on it, it won't open in the right spot. So you have to go to open with Pattern Design, open separate work area, and it will launch Pattern Design. And of course you could edit using Accumark Gerber, but if this is something that you want to bring back into CLO 3D or potentially Illustrator or something like that, then we need to save it as a DXF file. And we see here the work area is the green space, and this is the little dock that has our pattern piece in it. So we click on the pattern piece in the dock and then click to place it on the table. So if we are just going to export this as a DXF, we can go to File, Export, click on the piece, excuse me for my phone call, and then I believe Illustrator would take a standard DXF, but if we're exporting to CLO, it needs one of these two types of DXF. So I chose AAMA, and it worked just fine when I opened it up in CLO. So we will save that. Sorry, and hit save. So now that should be on my desktop, and I could put it in on a flash drive or on my Google Drive and move it back to my computer to work on CLO. It does give me a warning, but it's just a warning about the grade rule table. I think because the grade rule table doesn't work, it's highlighting that. So we'll hit close, and looking at it on my desktop, that type of file does export two files. It exports the grade rule table and it exports the DXF. CLO only needs the DXF as far as I know. All right, so we are going to now talk about the Digitizer. So let's step back out into the physical world and turn that on and stuff. So this is the Digitizer. It is going to not only plot out your pieces by like drawing them, but it will also cut out your pieces for you. It's real handy and extremely precise. So we have to turn it on though, and its on switch is around here. On, and then we can come and back and look at the menu. It's warming up. There are a couple things we need to make sure of. We need to make sure that this paper is not locked, so it can be like that and then it doesn't move. So it needs to be, this lever needs to be unlocked. And then it has to straighten its paper out, which it's not very good at this, so we have to be kind of on top of it for this particular Digitizer. So if we just choose any of these, we'll choose front edge. It is saying to unlock media, which it's reminding you to make sure that that is down and that this roll of paper is loose. And then we can hit enter. Okay, so that's its pen. And it's just moving that out of the way because it doesn't need it. And it's checking the width of the paper. And now it's going to start shooting the paper out. And it's good to let this go out a little bit so that it can kind of flatten out for the space that you need. But then we need to hit fast because otherwise Sorry, I don't know how the sound is. We have to hit fast there at some point after, like 10 seconds, so that it doesn't just continue to shoot out paper forever. It used to be able to stop itself, but it got damaged in a move. Okay, so now this is like a little funky right here. I'm gonna hope that this doesn't affect too much and keep going. I've just kind of straightened that out. Okay, so now we should be ready to print. So we're going to try it on the computer. All right, now we're going to talk about getting a DXF file prepped to print. So let's say you work in another program and you want to plot a DXF file from, say, Illustrator or CLO. We can do that. We just have to add in an extra step. So I have a DXF file on my desktop, and I am going to open up Accumark Explorer. If you haven't made a folder, you're going to make a folder, and we are going to go then to Gerber Pattern Design. I can double click here. I've already launched it though. So here is a new work area, and we are going to go to File, Open, not Import. File, Open. And we are going to change the file type to DXF. There are multiple types of DXF, and I happen to know that I saved this as an AMA file type. CLO lets you choose between those when you export them, but I believe Illustrator files would just be standard DXF files. So I guess make sure to choose the right type. And we are going to choose example 2. This is just the same piece that I've been working with that I digitized. So we are going to hit open. Beautiful. It has a warning, but I think it came in okay. Yeah, it's just telling me about the grade rule table. So I will hit close, and we can see the piece up there. So there it is. So that's how we bring in a DXF file. And now we are ready to actually save this piece. So we are going to, first off, I want to make sure that things are going to save in the right area. So if we go to, I'm sorry, I think it's under Edit. Yeah, and then Customize Preferences in Paths. We just want to make sure that this says your name, or we'll change it to example. And under general, we want data stored to be changed to retrieved area. Okay, so those are two things to look out for in the preferences, the paths, and then we'll change that to the 0 rule table, and then data being stored to retrieved area. So we're going to hit apply and save, and okay. And now we are going to go to File, Save. Over on the right, we need to make sure that it says Save Pieces. If Save Models is checked, it would actually look like this, and down here we would check Save Pieces. Okay, so we're just going to save the piece. The model is kind of like a group of pieces. So if we save the piece, we just click that and choose OK. I'm going to choose File, Save As, and make sure that this gets saved in the right spot. Yes, we're going to move it to Example, and I'm going to call it Example 2, and we'll choose Save. Okay, so we've saved the piece. We are now ready to plot this piece. We already have it open, so we are kind of ready to go. But if we didn't, if this were closed, we would just open it right here. Right click, open with Pattern Design, separate work area. And there it is. And now we are going to edit the plot preferences. So we already were in the preferences here. We can choose plot, and we need to make sure that the plot parameter table says p piece plot, that the annotation table is A, and that the plotter address is local. So all of those things are correct. So we can choose save. Now back in Accumark Explorer, we are going to open the p piece plot parameter table. So we can just double click on this and it opens up a table which has some information in it. We can tell it all kinds of things to do in here. We can tell it to plot the name of the piece along with some other things. And we can also choose from the perimeter tool. The perimeter tool is the most important thing in here, pen or knife. So I'm going to actually change it to say knife because I want it to cut out this piece. This is the tool that it uses as it goes around the perimeter. Does it cut or does it just make a pen mark? So now we can choose save up here or file save and close it. Now back in pattern design, we'll do example 2. They're the same. It really doesn't matter. This looks small. I want to make sure that I imported this the right way. So I'm going to take a second. I'm going to choose open. This is interesting. It's not acting the way I expected it to. Sorry. File. Yeah, I guess that if there might be what I think is happening is that there might be some other options for a standard DXF that show up. And I am going to share a worksheet with you that will go over that. But this, I think, is working fine. So we are ready to plot now. We are going to go to File, Plot. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. File, Plot. And then we are going to look at the user input on the right side of the page. I'm going to check cut. The media must be on 40 inch or 46 inch depending on the width of the paper. I'm going to go 40 inch. And then I believe that these other settings are correct. Everything looks good. Now we are going to click on the piece on the table, and it's asking us if we need to cut any of the internal lines, but we don't have to, so we're just going to hit OK. And it should start plotting. Because it did not plot, we are going to check on some of the settings. So we are going to open this up and go to plotters and then double click on this plotter, which is our local plotter. And we can see that the status is actually stopped. Okay, so we just have to hit start. And indeed, I can hear it warming up behind me. All right, I'm going to try to record this. But I wanted to show you that now it's cutting, actually. So this is actually a little knife with a tiny, tiny blade in it that we can't really see. It's so small. And it's cutting this as it goes. And it cuts it in a perforated line so that it kind of stays in there until it's done. And see, that's its pen, which it used to write the name, and it used to draw the grain line. But now it's cutting the paper off. And it's all done. It's sometimes not that great at getting the end. So let's look at what that looks like. Okay, we can't see much from this distance, but this is the paper that was just plotted. And what we can start doing is popping it out. So you can see that it is labeled and that it has the grain line that I drew on it. Okay, there it is. And let's compare it to the size of the original. Perfect, it's exactly the same. So I was a little bit worried when it didn't ask us about the scale, but it seems like those other types of DXF files kind of include the scale in the export and import. So that's excellent. And thus we have completed our lesson on how to use the Digitizer and the plotter. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will try to help you out. Okay, bye.